Hey everybody, Jim Sammons here, and welcome to the Kayak Fishing Show live. As always, brought to you by all of our wonderful sponsors. You can see them scrolling across the bottom there. They're the ones who have made it possible for us to do this show for so many years and allows me to relive great adventures like we're doing here on these live shows, which is actually today is kind of a double whammy of that because it's an old episode and it's an episode of the best of. So it's a little different. So, but before we get to that, a couple of things. It didn't get pushed out very far, but I did share an article yesterday, and it's of course the bad news of another kayak angler dying. You know, I always say this. I consider kayak fishing to be a very safe sport. Unfortunately, some of the people who get into the sport aren't very safe about it. Things can go wrong in a hurry on the water, and you need to take precautions. It's sad. It's terrible. I mean, the guy was, I think he was like 50 years old, was with a friend, but they had parted ways. And then that guy, while they had parted ways, the guy came back and the guy's kayak was upside down, full of water. And they found the gentleman's body later, and as is prone to be the case when these happens, is he was not wearing a PFD. You know, it's terrible. You know, it's so preventable. Wear a PFD. Wear a PFD every time you go out. I mean, I'm as guilty as anyone. When I first started kayak fishing, which was a long time ago, it wasn't as well known. I mean, I was a surfer, so I always thought, hey, I'm on a surfboard. Why would I wear a PFD? But after seeing what has happened over the years, you know, I started wearing a PFD, particularly when I started guiding, because I wanted everybody to be safe and I wanted to set a good example. Now you just, you know, wearing a PFD is second nature, and not wearing a PFD actually feels weird. So get into that habit of wearing a PFD, wear it all the time, no matter the conditions, because like I said, things can go wrong in a hurry. I usually point people to a video that's out there. If you look up on YouTube, kayak angler hit by boat, and you can see how fast things go wrong. Luckily, nothing happened in this instance. You know, everybody was fine, but it happened fast. Things go wrong, and you know, the PFD can save your life. So please always wear that PFD. I harp on it every week, but some people, you know, as I did, you know, I was young, you feel like you're bulletproof, but things can go wrong. You know, these guys separated. Obviously, something happened while they were separated, unless something nefarious happened. But suppose, as the story goes, the one guy fell in the water while they were separated, and other guy came back, and he said it was like 30 minutes later. So, you know, he could have been saved by a friend. Also, a big thing is knowing how to self-rescue. I mean, I've seen plenty of guys out there who fall off their kayak and do not know how to get back on. So you should have a very well-practiced self-rescue. Hey, Liam, thanks for joining us as always on Kayak Fishing Tales. For anybody new to this, we are here on our Facebook page. We are on our Facebook group page, and we are on Kayak Fishing Tales, which is our YouTube channel. Bobby Tucker, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us as always. Good to see some of the regulars on here. So what else? Oh, I didn't do a show last week because my daughter came to visit for a few days, and she actually dropped off her dogs to stay with us while she was going on vacation. So I currently have 7 dogs, and actually I thought I would share this with you. Here's a very short video that I took of the dogs, and this is what's going on at my house. And it's actually worse today because it's pouring with rain, and so I've got a bunch of soaking wet dogs. But here's a very quick video of what's going on at my house right now. There's our big one, Jasmine, and there's the other ones playing in the pool. I don't know why they like to play in the dry pool. and the little one's name is Karen, and you can probably see why. Barking at the owners. But these dogs play hard all day, and like I said, we've got 7 of them at our house right now, so it's a lot of fun. But that gray one there, this is the youngest. He is our puppy.
You've seen it.
And he has been playing outside in the water today, so getting very, very wet. I've had to dry him off a couple of times. What else? There was one other thing I wanted to mention. I have been using Benchmade knives for quite some time. I really liked their... Actually, I had one sitting here somewhere. Oh, here it is. I always carry a cutaway tool on my PFD, mainly for when I'm big game fishing. You need to cut a line quickly. A cutaway tool is a great thing to have. They actually used to make one that was plastic, and so it's just the metal blade. That's the one I carry on my PFD. This one's all metal, just more prone to rust, but still, I mean, I like having a cutaway tool because in an emergency, it's easier to hook your line and cut it than trying to clip it with pliers or hitting it with a knife or something like that. So, but anyway, I've had Benchmade knives. Again, I'm not affiliated with them in any fashion. If they would like to be affiliated with me, I'd love that. But I had an old Benchmade knife. I mentioned this in the show the other day that was one of my favorites. And it kind of did a disappearing act on me. And it's this knife here, which I then found again. But this is a Benchmade Emerson collaboration. Anyway, I found out something about Benchmade that I did not know, is they have a program called Life Sharp, and which was very cool. If you have a Benchmade knife, you send it in to them, they will sharpen it. And I found this knife again, and I sent it into them. No receipt, no nothing, no proof of purchase, anything like that. I sent it into them. They cleaned it all up, oiled it, and made it razor sharp. So to me, that's a good excuse to buy more Benchmade knives. It is a lifetime thing. Any knife you buy from them, you can just send it in and they will sharpen it for you. So I know, like with our got a barking dog out here, with a lot of knives, I mean, I just sharpen them myself, but you get it to that point where it's like you really want to get that factory edge back on it. And a company that does that, that's really cool. So just thought I'd share that with you. Excuse me. So, like I said, it's been a little bit crazy here. And like I said, we just got a heck of a storm. I mean, I feel so bad for the people that had to deal with these tornadoes and everything. I mean, and our thoughts definitely go out to all the people affected by that. You know, we've got a heck of a storm going on here, but nothing in comparison. So we've just got a lot of wind and pouring rain, but definitely no tornadoes in San Diego, thankfully. The occasional water spout, but excuse me. So today's episode, I have not reviewed it as I normally don't, because I kind of like to relive it as we're watching it. This was, I just saw the intro to it, and it's a best of. So it was from a couple seasons. I think it was from season 8 and 9, but the best of episodes. So like highlights from those episodes. And from what I saw just on the intro, I think it said that it was, and I wrote it down there, but it was Baja. It was a road trip I did with my daughter and my friend Sean, and we went out to Cedros Island, which is an absolutely wonderful place. It's some shoots in New Zealand, Puerto Rico, and Costa Rica is what I believe is on this episode, and all just wonderful places and some of my favorite places to go every year. So hopefully we can get back to going places every year again. Still working on that. I don't know if you're in California, but we have just been subject to mask mandates again, which I'm not going to jump on that, but I think it's ridiculous. So we have, if you're indoor, mask mandates. So anyway, So, like I said, I just want to get back to normal and get back to fishing and get back to traveling. And when I travel, sitting on an airplane, not having to wear a mask, and it's nuts. I talked to a friend of mine today who said he hasn't been on a plane in 2 years, and it's like, it's tough. It's tough. So let's get back to normal. And by watching this video, maybe we can relive a little bit of normalcy. So with no further ado, how about I bring it on up with a new picture-in-picture. How about I remove that banner going across the bottom? If you are watching the show, please, share it with your friends. That's something that really helps me out a lot, is if you share it with your friends, help us get that reach. And, so I can continue doing this. If you have any comments or questions, throw them my way. That makes for a better show, so I can answer questions. I really enjoy that. And we had one more question or comment. Nicholas Beltram saying, "Sup, Jim? How you doing, man? Thanks for joining us." So with no further ado, how about we get this episode going?
I'm Jim Sammons, and this week on the Kayak Fishing Show, we're going to look back on some of our best adventures in the last few years. From Yellowtail in Baja, roosters in Costa Rica, tarpon in Puerto Rico, and kingfish in New Zealand. Stay tuned. This is going to be an awesome show.
Got it! Yeah! Word to the wise, if your mama ain't taught you. Don't stand in front of a man and a fish he ain't caught yet. Honey, if the world calls me, tell him I'm fishing. I'm going fishing. Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Would you like to? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Would you like to go fishing? I'm going fishing. Woo!
Over the last 9 years, I've had the opportunity to explore and fish in some of the most amazing places in the world. We've gone fishing for Nile perch on the Nile River in Uganda. We've chased marlin in Baja Sea of Cortez. We've caught peacock bass in Brazil in the Amazon jungle. We've gone after huge alligator gar in Texas, sturgeon in Canada, roosterfish in Panama. The list goes on and on. So this week, we're going to go do something we've never done before. We're going to step back in time and look back on some of the best fishing adventures from the past few years. One of the first trips that pops to mind is my latest trip to Cedros Island. Not only is Cedros one of my favorite places to fish, but this time I got to do it with one of my best friends, Sean White, and my daughter, Kirsten. Now, some fishing trips are memorable because of the fishing. Some trips are memorable because where you are, and some fishing trips are memorable because of the people you're with. This trip to Cedros was a trip that was memorable for all those reasons.
All morning I was catching little calicos on my big pelagic stuff, and I was like, I don't want to switch because that's when I'm going to catch something big. And I switched, and that's when I caught something big.
I was ready to just call it a day and say I'm out for a nice paddle today because it was so windy. I didn't think we were going to get anything, but it started clicking. So a fish was on, and I grabbed the reel, and it was heavy.
Okay, go, 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 right at it. Wine, bull, 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 you can rest tomorrow.
Nothing huge, but for a bass rod, I will totally take it.
The fish swam into the kelp one time. I had to pass the rod off to my dad so that he could get it untangled and everything.
It's not broken off, but it's locked in the kelp. Oh, there it goes, there it goes. So I'm trying to let it swim out.
But Then after that, I pulled it out to the boat by myself, and it was, I mean, it was big. So I was pretty proud of myself.
It was the biggest fish on the trip.
Got her in the kelp, but I got it out. Bring it up! Oh my God, this is huge! This is a huge yellowtail!
39.17.
Good fish. Pedro's fish.
I was paddling as hard as I could at some points with those really hard gusts, and I was going, like 0.7 miles an hour, and just really working hard to stay in the zone. And I got two really good quality yellowtail, a couple of the biggest I've ever caught, a 37 and a 39 pounder. And I'm telling you, fighting those big fish in those challenging conditions just made the catches that much more exciting. I mean, it was really cool. I said I was paddling, 0.7 miles an hour. That fish pulled me 2 miles an hour into the wind. That shows you how powerful these big fish are. And it was just so exciting and so fun. And when you finally get that fish underneath you and you've got it, you got color, it's dicey because there's so much water moving around, and the fish may go down, and it's kind of sketchy, but you have color, and it's just like, you're that close to getting it. Got it! Yeah! Man, it's so
Super
exciting.
fun.
It's just such a great ending to an awesome trip here at Cedros Island with Cedros Outdoor Adventures.
If you've never caught a yellowtail, they're a big jack, and I mean, just super strong. They love to run into structure. They love to run into the kelp. And, you're fighting them in those kind of conditions, that high wind. The Kraken really was a great boat for those conditions. I love paddling in those kind of conditions in the right kind of boat, and just super fun. And like I said, Cedros Island is such a cool place. Cedros Outdoor Adventures. They have their place right on top of the bluff overlooking the water. The picture right there is Jose, who owns the place, and just a great guy. I highly recommend it. I'm planning on going back again in 2022.
This is the yellowtail Kirsten caught.
The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you by Jackson Kayak. One family, many waters.
Orion Coolers. Never lose your cool.
Seagar, the inventor and perfecter of fluorocarbon fishing lines and leaders.
So again, I encourage you to bring on your questions, and please share these videos with your friends. I did have a question from Bill Edwards. He says, "Hey Jim, what do you think of the new Kilroy OG?" And that's a Jackson Kayak boat. I know I'm excited about it. Love my real OG. It's a great boat. I've paddled it. They paddle so well because there's no scuppers or anything. That it's considered what would be considered a wreck boat. And it's a big cockpitted boat, so doesn't come into play a lot for the type of fishing I do. Offshore stuff like that, you're not really using that type of boat. Big game type fishing, I'm not really fond of that kind of boat. But for bass fishing, lakes and that sort of thing, it's an awesome boat. And like I said, it's a great paddler, and it's actually fairly light because it is a cockpitted boat instead of being dual layers like a normal roto-molded boat is. So yeah, I mean, they're a great boat. And I know a lot of friends it's one of their favorite boats because of the style of fishing they do. And the times I fished out of it, I really liked it. Super stable, very standable. So yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be excited for that limited release of the Kilroy. There's another boat that we're hoping for a limited release on too, that we just saw a few minutes ago. So again, please bring your questions. If you're watching this on a replay, give it the thumbs up, and let us know where you're watching from. I always like to hear from people watching from all over the world. I did hit play.
Welcome back to the Kayak Fishing Show. This week we're taking a trip down memory lane and looking at some of the best fishing adventures we've had over the past few years. Being a saltwater guy, I like to catch pretty much anything in the ocean. But roosterfish, they've always been one of my favorites. Not only are they really cool looking, but pound for pound, they're one of the hardest fighting fish out there. And so with big...
So I'll throw this out there. If you didn't know, again, I mentioned Yellowtail being a jack. Roosterfish are also a jack. They've got that big fork tail. And all of those fish are absolutely, such powerful fish. And roosters, you get the big comb on them. I first started catching them down in southern Baja, where I used to guide. And one of the biggest ones we ever caught was actually in southern Baja. And it was 85 pounds. And it was one of my clients. And then I've also caught them in Costa Rica and Panama. My personal biggest one I actually caught in Panama in Bahia Honda on a trip with Paddle Panama. And of course, we all know about Los Buzos, who's so famous for all of their big rooster fish as well. And, just right out in front of their place. So if you ever have the chance to catch rooster fish, big fun fish, no teeth, just a sandpaper mouth, but so strong. Unlike yellowtail, roosterfish don't tend to run into structure. So that's always a nice thing. When you hook them, you fight them, they're generally going to be straight down or around on the surface, but they're not looking to run back into the rocks, which is how yellowtail tend to break you off.
Roosterfish in mind, we headed down to Costa Rica's Osa Peninsula, where I hooked up with my good buddy Esteban Gutierrez from Blackbeard Fishing Company. We had an incredible current. We were paddling. If we stopped paddling, we were drifting at 2 miles an hour. So what would happen, we were paddling into current, trolling, the fish would hit, and then so you would grab your rod and you were drifting towards it. So it would hit and then it would immediately go straight down. But I had this incredible fish, and these fish, I don't know if it's because they're used to swimming in this really strong current, but they just feel stronger than roosters I've caught in the past. They're just brutally strong.
Oh yeah.
Oh, big, beautiful rooster. It's probably one of my biggest ever. Woo! That is a big, beautiful rooster. I'm gonna have the boat come over so they can pull it and give it a chance. I really don't want this fish to die. I really want to revive it. Take advantage of the resources you have. We have the camera boat there. I had this fish on a boga so they could hang on to the boga and drag the fish in the water and spend more time reviving it and moving forward, which is just a little bit hard to do in the kayak. So
I tell you, that's one thing good about pedal boats. You can do that in the pedal boat where it's hard to do it in a paddle boat.
Fish that I really care for, that you really want to spend the time to make sure. That's an old fish, and want to make sure they're still around.
Well, yeah, I had a fish kind of pull me over and under.
Thing's pulling some line.
He took off pretty fast, went down and under the kayak, and I just kind of followed.
I watched it. He literally fell over in slow motion.
I think the anticipation of...
I give him a hard time about that every time I talk to him.
Once the day before, I was determined not to let that one go. I lost a rod, I lost some tackle, some gear, but the one thing I didn't lose was the grip on that rod. I was able to get back out. That's the important thing about having a PFD. And that's also the important thing about not kayaking alone. I was able to get help, and I got back on the boat, back on the kayak, fought the fish for another 10 minutes, and it really was an amazing catch. It kind of made my whole trip.
Good on him, because after going in the water, that can be a little startling and all that. So got him back in the water, or back into his kayak, and continued to fight and was able to land just a big, beautiful roosterfish. And you see a roosterfish that big, you can see why, maybe it could pull me in the water. Nice rooster. That's a beautiful fish, dude. I love roosterfish. I mean, I love to catch those fish. They're an incredible sport fish. They're not particularly good table fare. So, you know, you get these big fish, you really want to do all you can to revive them. And, you know, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to revive the fish. And in the case with Esteban's fish, so I jumped in the water with it, and I've done it before with roosters, and it works. You know, it's just a matter of getting their head pointed down in an upright position and compress their the air bladder a little bit so they can then swim down and be on their own. So that's what I did with Esteban's fish, and we do everything we can to revive these fish every time.
Yeah, I've done that.
The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you by Jackson Kayak.
I've done that a number
family,
of times
many
over the
waters.
years, whether it's for
Naqua Adventure Gear,
clients' fish or
no
my own
adventure.
fish.
Ocean
When I was
Guardian,
guiding in Mexico,
Howard.
I would do that, and my Mexican boat captain Alonso would freak out every single time I would do it. I actually had a client, Alonso was actually filleting a yellowtail on the back of the boat for a client, and it slid and flew off the boat. And I immediately just dove in the water because it had already had one side fillet taken off. So it was just sinking. So I dove in the water and grabbed this yellowtail and brought it back up. And Alonso was freaking out because he just thinks, he's like, as soon as you start filleting the fish, they're sharks. And it's like, yeah, that's not really the case. And particularly down where we were in Southern Baja, you know, you got to know your areas. But man, anytime I would try to dive in and help a fish revive it, or like I do in that, he would freak out. And it was always good for a laugh. Well, since we're paused here, Bobby Tucker, even though you're saltwater, have you fished any of the Great Lakes? Yeah, I'm mainly saltwater. I do fish quite a bit of freshwater, usually for the show, but I have never done the Great Lakes. I've been invited a couple of times, but it was just never anything really panned out. I'd like to do it. I know there's some very beautiful places on the Great Lakes, but maybe someday, maybe if we keep doing this show, I'll get up there sometime. Somebody will set up a shoot for us. So again, if you're just tuning in, make sure you shoot us any questions, comments. I always appreciate that. And I really appreciate anybody who will share our videos with your friends and help that reach grow.
By Shark Shield Technology.
These are built-in commercial brakes, by the way.
Welcome back to Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show. This week, we're doing things a little different. We're looking back at some of the best adventures we've had over the last few years. One of the places that we've filmed 3 times over the past 9 years is New Zealand. It's a beautiful country. The people are awesome. And the fishing is ridiculous. On this trip, our primary target was kingfish, which we call...
I'm going to pause it there just for a second. Had a couple of people checking in. Pamela Worth, thank you for watching from... Sorry, got distracted. A dog come in and visit me. Pamela watching from Tampa. I appreciate it. Bonnie Hill in California. What part of California are you in there, Bonnie? Because I'm in San Diego and it's pouring with rain. And Wesley watching from Chicago says it's very informative. Thanks, man. I appreciate you watching. So yeah, this next segment, like I said, I've got 7 dogs in my house right now. This next segment is from New Zealand. We've been there 3 times and absolutely love New Zealand. The people, the fishing, the weather and everything is very similar to San Diego, although it's opposite seasons as us. That boat that's right behind me there was called Cool Change, and it was a 50-foot catamaran. Had dual Kevlar masts. It was amazing. We got to spend, I think we were on that thing for 3 or 4 days. This trip was a long time ago. This was back with Ocean Kayak, but absolutely an amazing, amazing boat to spend time on and use as our mothership as we went to different islands and everything else and fish these areas. Very sharky area, New Zealand. We lost a lot of fish to sharks, and there's actually a very, and I don't know if it's in here or not, but there's a very much from this episode here that's showing, or from that trip, I should say, where a bronze whaler came up and grabbed a yellowtail out of my hand. So a pretty sharky place, but amazing, amazing fishing and just a great time. And fabulous meat pies. If you like meat pies, they're wonderful.
Yellowtail here in America. Without a doubt, New Zealand is one of the best places in the world to catch really big kingfish. But as we learned a few years back, there are a lot of sharks in the water with the same idea.
Oh, there it is.
And I got a pretty good scare when a shark tried to grab one of my big kingies right out of my hand. And so to help us to get on fish on this trip, we hooked up with a couple of the locals, Brent Clink and local legend, Kerry Flowers.
So I'm Kerry Flowers. I'm a kayak fisherman in New Zealand, in the far north of New Zealand on the east coast.
The weather's always quite warm up here. The water is...
So this now jumps to that other one with the sailboat there. That was our very first trip to New Zealand. This was my last trip to New Zealand. So it kind of jumped from one to the other there. Kerry Flowers, who they just showed there for a second, one of the best anglers I've ever met. Just an absolutely amazing angler and free diver as well. So he would go down and get us lobster and abalone and all kinds of stuff. So we ate very well in New Zealand.
It's definitely a lot warmer than further down a bit south. We have some really good kingies or yellowtails and some really big snapper up this way.
One of the great things about coming on this trip is that I get to share the Jackson Kayak Kraken with the guys in New Zealand. Now, this boat's been here for a little while, but not a lot of guys have seen it. So the Kraken was really built for the kind of water that these guys fish here in New Zealand. Big offshore water, chasing big fish. So it's really going to be a compliment to what they can do here. Here we got on a nice one on the mechanical jigging, man. Came out to a high spot. Didn't see a lot on the meters, but a little scratch here and there. And this looks like a really good fish. I take that all day long, brother. Beautiful yellowtail kingfish. Woo. Nice.
Yeah, here we are. Just a once for a kingfish, you can go home.
Nice. Well, I've always said, you know, when you're going to a new location, one of the smartest things you can do is to hire a local guide. Being able to tap into a resource like Kerry, who does have an area so wired, just makes all the difference in whether you are going to a spot and catching a fish or spending half your day trying to find a spot. Yeah, that's a nice fish there, man.
Whoa, bright side! Triple banger!
Woo-hoo-hoo! Triple hookup, beautiful fish. Look at that. So strong, so much fun. Woo-hoo! Boom! Yeah! So nice to have that fish finder hold you over the spot, built-in GPS. So we marked the spot that Kerry told us about, and able to stay over the top of that. You see a school of bait or a school of fish down below, you drop on it and bam, you're on. Even Brent.
Well, this is what happens when you get a lively kingfish on the line and a bronze whaler shark wants to have a free feed.
there's not much you can do about it because they just come in and they smack you.
Like I
They're
said,
known as the tax men for a reason. And
it's
they take
very
the best part of
sharky
that
there.
fish.
So once I was jigging for some kingfish, was sitting about 65, 70 meters of water. I think I was on my 4th or 5th kingfish, and I felt the line slowly tugging, and I knew that something wasn't right here. The shark grabbed it, swam behind me, started towing me backwards into Jim's line. So we got our lines tangled there, and it started swimming away, taking quite a bit of line. I was actually, to be honest, I was kind of a bit scared, but I knew that I had Jim and Kerry Flowers around me, and the support boats. So it towed me backwards quite a few times, but I just went with it, chased it down, slowly got it up to at least where I could see it underneath the water, and that's where I knew it was a good size 3-meter bronze whaler. So once the shark started coming up, it done a straight dive. My rod was hanging over the edge of the kayak. Once it done a straight dive, I should have pulled my rod around and dipped the rod into the actual water beside the kayak, but it just a learning experience. As the shark dove, it snapped the rod on the edge of the kayak, and all part of the learning experience. Just got busted off by looked like a big bronzy, so definitely wasn't a maker. Oh, new rod, hopefully a new reel.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
First shark on the kayak.
The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you by Orion Coolers, Naqua Adventure Gear.
We caught so many
Malone.
yellowtail, and it's they call them kingfish there, but it's a yellowtail.
Cigar.
Same fish as we have here in California, down in Baja.
Ocean Guardian.
And just again, it's just such a strong fish, but they tend to get bigger there. They'll catch 100-pounders. So just massive yellowtail. Of course, we didn't catch anything any near that size, but big, strong fish, and they're also very, very good to eat. Unlike a lot of jacks, they are delicious.
Although it was a little bit difficult to narrow.
Serge, how you doing from Ottawa? Bonnie says it's raining where she is as well. Yeah, it's been pouring here all day, and our one puppy had a great time going and playing in it.
Narrow down which of our adventures to feature in this show. One location didn't take any thinking at all, and that was tarpon fishing in Puerto Rico. We filmed there a few times over the past decade, and every time, with the help of our local guide, Omar Araka, we've knocked it out of the park. Our latest trip was no different, except this time I was joined by James Macbeth from Jackson Kayak, and he was looking to catch his first tarpon from a kayak.
So I will pause there really quickly, just to say, rest in peace to my good friend Omar. They actually had a memorial service for him just this past weekend in Puerto Rico. But unfortunately, he passed very suddenly a few months back, and he will be sorely missed. One of my very dear friends, and just an amazing, amazing guide. So rest in peace, Omar.
What an exciting fish to catch, man. Give them a little bit of slack, because that's when they like to snap that line. Ah, perfect release. I like that. Didn't have to deal with him. Nice. Get a lap dance. That's the second time he's tried to jump in the kayak.
Have a lot of finesse with it when you're bringing it in. The fish wanted to go, you want to release that leader. You don't want to keep the tension. Many times we use thin leaders in order to get more bites. So if you put tension on it, you're definitely going to bust it. That's why you see James right now working the fish very patient. Nice. I'm very careful so he don't bust the leader. He wants his picture.
I don't fight a lot of tarpon, so it's very difficult to fight. But then brought it back to the boat. We got it out and we let it go safe. It was fun.
Just made a cast with a lure and I got hit on the bait. Yeah. You know, the nice thing about being able to catch a few fish is you learn so much as you're doing it, you know. Definitely getting better at pointing my rod at the fish when he jumps. It's nice to have somebody like Omar with us to give us the proper instructions on how to handle them. Got that, whoa, mustad circle hooks right in the corner of the mouth. Small tarpon, but super fun, man. What a great fish these things are. They really are athletes. I mean, the way they jump, as hard as they pull, and they're so fast. Man, how much fun is that? You know, these tarpon are great at breaking them off if you don't have the right setup. The real secret to my success here in Puerto Rico has been having the right combination of rod, reel, line, and leader. And that's why I'm a big fan of the Seaguar fluorocarbon pink label. I'm a huge fan of their subtle pink color on the stuff. It lets me see my line a little bit easier above the water while still being completely invisible below the water. Tarpon love to break you off with their sharp gill plates or wrapping around a dock piling or floating debris. Every time they jump is another chance for them to break your line. Seaguar Fluoro has proven itself to me time and time again with its incredible resistance to abrasion and minimal stretch. Throw out some lures around these docks, and I was also soaking a live bait. And all of a sudden, there was a boil right next to my boat. I guess my bait had swam up right next to my kayak. All of a sudden, my line starts peeling off. You know, not big fish, but I'm using 60-pound Seaguar fluorocarbon leader because these things will break you off. I mean, every time we've had one on, the line has been super abraded. Maybe I'll try my boga on him. I don't know if I've ever boged a tarpon. Got him. Well, thanks for joining me this week. I hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, and I hope you'll join us next week for more exciting kayak fishing action.
Well, I do hope you enjoyed that. That was, for me, it's always fun to go back and watch these old episodes, and having an episode like this, which was kind of a best of, was even more fun because I got to relive some trips from way back when, and remember my good friends, like I said, Omar and our friends over in New Zealand who I've not seen in several years. They've been in a crazy lockdown. You know, just such a, I've been very blessed to be able to do what I do, and I hope I can continue to do that. And thanks to all of you for supporting us and, you know, supporting our sponsors who then support us. So if you can, again, I you know, I hate to beg, but, you know, please share this with your friends. That just helps us out a lot. You know, we don't get a lot of natural growth through Facebook. They tend to not share our videos a whole lot, but luckily we've got a big enough audience that it still gets out there. But I will reiterate, you know, and, you know, you can go over and look at the article. I posted it yesterday. You know, a guy unfortunately passed away kayak fishing yesterday. And he wasn't wearing a PFD. I mean, you know, you never know exactly what happened. You don't know the situation. Nobody was there. But, you know, he was only alone for 30 minutes from what the article said, and something happened that put him in the water, and he was not wearing a PFD, and things go wrong. Like I said, things go wrong in a hurry, and a PFD can save your life. And with that said, get a PFD that's made for paddling, get one that's made for kayaking. That way it's going to be more comfortable. Try on different ones till you find the one that fits you properly, that feels right. And then you're more apt to wear it. If you get some big old clunky thing that is not comfortable to wear, you're not going to want to wear it. So, get one that's made for paddling. Make sure you try to find the one that fits properly. Try it on while sitting in a kayak. If you go to a kayak shop and they have boats sitting on the floor that you can sit in that boat that, with the seat, so you see how it feels. And that way you line it all up and match it all up to one that it is comfortable enough that you will wear. Robert Burke says, thanks from New Jersey. Need to do a show in the spring for stripers. Nonstop action. We had somebody say that to us once, and we went, and it was really tough. It's so hard when you have migratory species. They show up a day late, and I'm on the West Coast, and we make our plans for our shoots so far in advance that sometimes you just miss them. So our one trip for stripers, we got a few fish, but it certainly wasn't wide open. But I would love to give it a try again. I know that when you get the mullet runs and all that in different areas, it can be pretty crazy. And I love to fish for everything. So if you want to help us set up a shoot there, by all means, let me know, and we'll try to make it happen. So with that said, I appreciate once again all of you guys joining us here. Please share our videos with our friends. If you are going out on the water, always wear your PFD and keep your paddle right side up. Y'all take care.